It is Tara and Lena from Sojourn Psychology. We're both psychologists. And one of the things that we talk a lot about with clients is inner child. And so I thought, you know what, Lena has tons of experience. She works with a lot of individuals, lots of couples, lots of teens. So what do you think, Lena? Like, first off, when we talk about inner child, so many times people are like, that's psychobabbly, like, what does that even mean?
It's actually inner child. If you talk about it, it's not most of us have this younger self that needs something, and we often look for that from outside, but subconsciously, and it's healing the child. You become the adult or the caregiver or the secure attachment you didn't have, and that incident or that stage of life, you become that. We go sort of back and talk to your younger self. That's very much, and it's actually not, it's a lot of research based, and especially ACT and EMDR does in your child.
Yeah, and self-regulation too. So I think that's important, and I think that clinically we often miss to see that. Like, there's tons of research that values the importance of going back, having conversations as an adult. So I will say we get to be a wise, good mentor to that younger part of self. And what's interesting when you talk about the research is, you know, with our trauma, like our early trauma is very significant. So who is holding the early trauma? That little self, you know, our little 5, 6, sometimes 2, 3, 4-year-old, those little stories. So it's really the sacred space. And then I know you have an activity here, because being able to converse with a child is really important. Like, how we hold space. This is a child conversation.
Yeah, and it's like, and also we have to be ready to go and imagine that you can go, and if we had a mentor or someone we trusted, someone we wanted to look up to, or someone we believe they want to keep us safe, if we had someone like that, how would we able to talk to them and ask for our needs to be met?
Yeah.
That's what we usually do as an adult when we go back to a particular image or incident that you actually remember. It stays with you. I usually explain to my clients as, like, imagine like we have stages and they're all sort of attached, but sometimes in our back of our brain or internally, it's like little cages. We are all sitting and we're looking outside, but you're still in the cage.
Yeah, like that image that they have from, I think that was one of the Burning Mans with the 2 adult cages turning towards, and then the 2 children. Yeah, that's a nice way of noticing it. And I like to, because I mean, so often too, I'm saying we are the wise, good mentor, but this is another really good point. Who was that mentor in our life? Who was the person we went to for comfort? Who was the person who had capacity to meet us in that need, whether they knew it or not, what had happened? So that might be a way that we would help somebody process some of the inner child pain.
Most of the time when I go through the exercise and ask, if you go back right now, so let's take back, it's like imagining, there's a script from ACT that I like to use. Imagine if you have a time machine. I put you in the time machine. You can go to the spot, then we walk gently back to that spot. If you're able to find that inner child or the younger you, and then what would you do? What would you say? What is she wearing or he's wearing? So I actually walk them through, take them back, and sit them beside or stand them beside and hold them, and then you're gonna ask, what do you need from me?
Yeah, and it's so powerful. You know, I have freedom to share this story with practice with a colleague years ago in a different country, and they said, feel free to share this story because it's so interesting. They're doing some inner child work, and in part of it there was this image of this individual and their inner child were in this forest, and the inner child is just sort of there alone. And I thought, I want to go pick that child up and just love and hold that child. And when I said to my colleague, what do you want to do? The colleague was like, well, I just think that we're good.
Yeah.
This child knows I'm here, and I know I'm here. And this is a very, gentle, tender, sweet person. So to me, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. It's just really interesting that part of the sacredness of psychology and therapy, when a client is willing to do some of the inner child work, is you are the mentor.
Yeah.
I might think something should happen. Well, say this to the kids, say this. But that's not what that inner child means. The best mentor is either the person that the client themselves, or that symbol of the wise good mentor and their child.
So it works really well. We can do it after your client and you have a good relationship and they trust you enough to take you back.
Yeah.
I often tell them, I could come with you in that like time machine. I will be waiting outside.
Yeah.
Or you can follow my voice off. Like ask him this if he is comfortable.
Yes.
Ask permission, because often, as you know, Sarah, that a lot of clients we see in our practice, especially adults, have a lot of sexual trauma history, and they want to be safe. They don't want to be touched without permission.
Right.
So even if you're going to ask this adult or mentor who's safe, but you still want to ask permission to that younger self. What do they need? Can I give you a hug? Tell me what you need from me right now.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that too, because consent is so important. And without consent, there's many risks, but one of the things that I notice can be really impacting with vulnerable work is that it feels coercive. Like if we're in a vulnerable moment needing to apologize and restore a relationship, and we feel obligated, I have not given my consent, then I'm going to feel coerced. And it's the same thing with vulnerable work. So that's beautiful. Like if, and so hopefully clinically we're saying, is it okay? Do I have your consent to be here? Is this space okay in the metaphor or physically in the room? And if a clinician forgets, tell them.
Yeah.
I don't want you there. You could stay in this room. I'm going into the metaphor. Or, could you move your chair a little bit further away? That's helpful.
So usually that works a lot, particularly when we have people who have physical abuse or sexual abuse.
Yeah. Or sometimes we just use the term invasion sensitive. Yeah, when it's okay to notice or people say, I have a big bubble. Like my bubble is big. And if you have a big bubble, that's a nice thing to know. So because what type of bubble does our child have? Going back to the story I shared, there's they're beautiful, tender bubbles over these two individuals in that metaphor, but they were still big bubbles. And it would have been wrong for me, that idea of like, why don't you just pick this baby up? Wasn't tuned in.
It's the compassion. The compassion we show for us. Often, our clients do not show compassion. They equate compassion to being selfish.
Yes, and I will say, I'd be curious how how you'll say this, because I think you'll agree with me.
Okay.
I'm overconfident right now, but I think I might.
Oh, let's see.
I think that one of the main characters in all of our life stories that we have limited compassion for, or consistently at a high level of limited compassion, is that inner child. 100%. 100% agrees.
Yeah, because that's where when I do inner child work, what I try to teach my clients is compassion.
Yes.
And then compassion for the younger you.
Yes.
That's what we need to teach. To heal, what do you do? Healing, everything that we do. Like as I'm gonna do neurofeedback, it's also healing. When we do EMDR, it's healing. When we do couples therapy, it's healing. We're not trying to reduce the negative. We're trying to heal You can't heal without compassion.
Yeah, and we can't heal without compassion, and we can't heal without the story continuing to exist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I broke my knee when I was a young, pre-pubescent.
Mm-hmm.
It healed, but I still know I broke it.
The scar is still there.
And the scar, I do have a little scar. But it's like, it's the same thing with trauma. And I think there's this strange thing that people, when something's really, really bad, I just want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And of course, it's so potent, it's valuable to want to get rid of something, but it's incongruent inside of us. We know we don't really get rid of everything. Our story comes with us. There's no cancel culture on our internal.
Yeah. It becomes, like you said, it's a really nice way of saying it. It doesn't go away, but
Yeah.
it becomes smaller.
Becomes smaller. It's more managed, integrated, loved,
Yeah.
compassion for,
it. Yeah. Taken care of. Right?
taken care of.
Like it's also thinking in another way. It's like we are puzzles.
Yeah.
So we give, especially within your child work. I believe it's just my belief that we.
I might agree.
You might agree. We choose to put the puzzle back together the way it's going to fit right now, so they could go and heal their own wound. So that's where the compassion for our younger self comes in.
But yeah, it's almost like with the puzzle. Some people have the puzzle, but it's in the box and they need someone to open it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's a few puzzle pieces missing, and through conversation, you find the pieces and you can place them.
You bring it with you sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just finding the actual puzzle before we can put it together. That's a beautiful, and again, that like safe distance, the awareness of where am I at with my capacity, my awareness.
That's like one of the reasons I like in the child work. Everybody could benefit from it because most of the time we all have that little piece of us. We wish somebody, took care of it without asking, or we're too scared to ask to be taken care of. But when you give the compassion, and also it's like we get the power back, right?
Yes.
I can go back and I can talk to the younger me, saying, hey, you know what? Yes, I see you. I hear you. You are hurt.
Yeah.
I'm here now. We're going to be okay.
Yes. Yeah. It's almost verbatim what the Circle of Security says about repair. I'm here. I know you need me, and we're going to work it out. That's what repair is. So the wise mentor, me as this adult, that mentor in the story, or whatever that's going in towards my inner child. I'm here. I know you need me. We're going to work this out. It's interesting, trauma. When you say power, I was thinking, I don't know. I'll see if you agree with me again.
Let's see.
You just inspired me, and I'm like, I think this is true. So I'm gonna say it. Relational power or trauma is always about power.
Yes.
Power over.
Power over. Yeah.
So if somebody has traumatized, abused, neglected you, it's important to look at what's the power story of what's been lorded over me or this person. Now when I broke my knee, it wasn't power over me. There were people involved though. However, my body broke.
Yeah.
I felt powerless. So it's interesting that the powerless, could I get into a loop of negative beliefs about myself because my source of power was taken from me? Definitely. Could this connect with my trauma channel? Definitely. Could it connect to stories of people who have put power over on me? Sure, because I felt powerless.
But especially emotional. What happened with a lot of our, when we go back the histories of it, someone who's supposed to actually take care or keep you safe.
Yes.
And they fail to do that knowingly or unknowingly.
Yes.
Oftentimes unknowingly.
Yeah.
But the young you does not know, then it's become a problem.
Yes.
So when we heal that and then acknowledging it happened, I can still heal you, and I'm going to show up
Yeah.
the way you needed me to show. Someone should have shown up,
Yeah.
but I'm going to show up right now.
Yeah.
It takes a little time, but once actually happened, it's amazing how
Right.
you're able to heal.
Yeah.
They feel light.
Yeah, so we can't take away what happened to your younger self, my younger self, Lena's younger self, but by having a conversation, adults, putting adult eyes on that little child's story, we can do something. It helps. It heals.
It heals.
Yeah.
It's the acknowledging, or the word acceptance. You can take it in many ways, but it's acknowledging, hey, someone is actually seeing me, that I was hurt.
Yes.
It's not ignored anymore.
Yeah.
When you take that out and say, hey, look, just like your story of you got, like you broke it, but there was somebody put medicine on it, somebody able to help you to heal.
Yeah.
Because it's physical. They saw it, they actually did something.
Right. I wasn't alone. You know, trauma is an experience. Our inner child hurts, or I am alone. Whatever our version of I'm alone. And so then we have somebody who is emotionally safe, that shows up and sees us and cares, hears us, and is with us in that moment. And there's that healing that happens. And then Lena's like our biofeedback genius.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not a lie. And it's not. And so I'm thinking like EMDR and neurologically, and in EMDR, what we know is that when we do trauma work, we're desensitizing the emotion and reprocessing the thinking. So you're not necessarily doing a power therapy when you're doing inner child work, but good inner child work helps us to desensitize the emotion, reprocess the thinking, so that we can further integrate. We're not erasing. EMDR doesn't erase something, biofeedback doesn't, inner child doesn't.
Just giving an acknowledgement and
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Anything else?
I think that's about it, but if anybody's interested in working inner child, call us at Georgia.
Yeah. If you are, and hopefully this is just curious and gets you really thinking about your little inner person. And I guess a little bonus, I'll say, little, but we're talking about the littles, is in your mind's eye, if you think of a picture of your little self, you know, like I think of a specific picture of myself, and it's a physical photo, it's good to find that physical photo.
Yes.
Whether you believe you need inner child work or not, there's that picture of you and you're like, that's the picture of my childhood. Find it, get a frame, put it somewhere you can see it. 100%. Whether you're gonna do this or not, just like get that picture out, let that part of you come alive.
Give some compassion to that photo.
Some compassion to that little photo, and reminisce its little silly childhood, lovey-dovey self. Okay, peace and love.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.